computer. And then I'm going to share screen. Share screen. Where is, how can I, okay. Let me see, it should be this one. Okay, so we are going to continue our discussion about Python programming. We are not going to go to too much detail, okay, because majority of you have already taken CS 433, so have fully understand of the major Python programming key points. And anyway, in machine learning, it's not the major task is not to do data wrangling, those the data cleaning, those stuff. So focus on algorithms. So I believe the material that I cover should be fine. Okay, and later on, in case any other material that we haven't covered, and I'm going to explain that in our later discussions. Okay, but temporarily don't. But if you yourself really want to get more knowledge about Python, and I also have the complete notes for last year's, so the fall 2020, all of the notes and the videos, and I also posted them on our website, so you can also, you're very welcome to review them in case you need. But if you think the time is you run out of time to go that deep, and the example here that we discussed should be fine. Okay, so last class we already started to discuss in Python how do you store more than one item. Is it so? Python doesn't have array, okay, but later on we will learn like NumPy is a different story. But anyway, regarding Python programming language itself, it doesn't have array. So we use list. Hold on, I need to admit. So we use a list, and the list in Python is identified by square brackets, okay, and you can have comma. And also, of course, it also supports list function. You can also create a list, use a list function, and then within it, you can plug whatever the iterable data structure. Is it like a list, another list, or later on we will learn like set or tuples, is it those, you can also create a list. But anyway, so if you do the square brackets, or if you this create a new list. Okay, and also list in Python is considered as an object. Okay, so here is the example, and also Python list, it's not just all of the item got to be the same data type. So it supports different data types. So it's not a homogeneous data type. Okay, it's heterogeneous data types supported. And here gives an example. So this is a Python variable. And last class, we also discussed Python variable, the value and even the data type can change. So variable doesn't have a type like always with it. So it's changed. It purely depends on what the right side is. Okay. So anyway, so this is, you create a Python list. So in memory, so you learn other programming language, you know that it allocate memory and then store the value in it. Is it? And similar, so list, if you want to get individual item, is it? You also use square bracket, but with some index number. Is it? So this is called indexing. So indexing is to retrieve single item. Okay, and for Python, the indexing, it also supports negative indexing number. So negative, that means it's count from the end. Okay, all of the other things, they are pretty similar as the array. Okay, and like here shows, is it that access list, initially it's all integer, but then you said, okay, I want to put, so this is a third item. So that's the same as array concept, okay? So starting from index, starting from there. So this is the third one. Then you can see it's a heterogeneous data type. It's integer, but here it has string. And you can also add more items. So list, it's grow. It supports grow. So you can call append. But be careful, as append is add one item, one element, okay? And if you want to add more than one, then you need to call that expand function, okay? So it's a different one. And here, then it's add at the back. And you can also remove. So this concept, pop, we learned, is it generally say it's from a stack, is it? So remove from the last one, is it? So then you see the last one is removed. So pop is removed from the last. So it's kind of come from the concept of stack, is push pop. So if you want to remove from it, you can call pop to remove. Okay, so indexing, we know, and in for like a list or other containers, and another one that used a lot later on, we will also see, okay, including machine learning parts, the slicing is used a lot. Okay, so let's take a look. What is slicing? Okay, slicing is you can retrieve not a single, you can retrieve more than one. Okay, and generally speaking, it's some range. So you can specify a range. So here it gives us an example. So this range file is a Python built-in function. Okay, it's create a list of numbers. Starting, if you don't specify, it's always start at 0. If you don't specify the step, it's always 1. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, something, is it? And so it's generate 5 numbers in this case. And then here, did you see that we use a list function to create a list? So this numbers is a list. Okay, so the list is, so it's a square brackets. Okay, so that's identified as a list. And if you take a look here, so this is kind of new, is it? In other program, we didn't see this, is it? So it's kind of like a starting index, is it? And then you have this colon, and then it's kind of ending index. So if you have something with list and within the square bracket, so this is called slicing. This is called slicing. Okay, so what that means, it starts from the index 2. So index 2 is what? Is the third item. Okay, in 0, 1, 2, the third one. And the ending index, be careful, it's exclusive. So it's not going to be included. So it's 2, then 3, 4 is not included. So it will get 2 and 3, get these 2 items. That's why the output is. And the output, after you do slicing, what you get is a list. Okay, the slicing, you get what? You get a list. Okay, and then this is another kind of slicing, is it? So the ending index not specified. So then by default, so that means all the way to the end, including the last one. Okay, so that's why here you have 2, 3, 4. Okay, and so you can leave this out. You can also leave the starting index out. If you leave starting index out, that means you want to start from the beginning. Okay, start, and then here 2 is not going to be included. So it's 0, 1, is it? And you can also leave both out. That means you want to get to the whole list, get a slice of the whole list. Okay, and you can also use negative index. So negative, we said it's -1 is the last one, is it? It's the last one. So that's why, but it's not included. So that's why the output is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And you can also use slicing to do reassignment. Is that to do reassignment? So then in this case, then what we will get, then whatever that slicing part is going to be replaced with the new numbers that you specify. Okay, so this is general idea about slicing, quite useful and used a lot later. We will also see. Okay, so try to get familiar with it. Okay, and then because here we discuss list. Anyway, list is some data structure. Okay, we can call it a container. Is it? So here we have a list. So it's all string. Is it? Then for list, how do we do loop? Is it in Python? Okay, so in Python, we do this kind of loop. So this kind of like in other programs, like if it's kind of, we call it each loop. Okay, not like that you have a loop index. That is like other so in Python we don't have that kind of. Okay, we have this kind of. So kind of like the for each loop. Is it? So after in, it's some container, some iterable thing. Is it? And then the variable is going to take each one out one by one. Is it? So it's so anyway, so any iterable can be after in. Okay, and also be careful in Python. Then we use a colon. Okay, instead of curly brackets like other language. And also in Python, we don't have, so the block, in Python, in block, there is no curly brackets, okay? It's using indentation for block, okay, for like a for block, if block, etc., for those kind of block, and also for function definition, etc. And also because we don't have curly, so here we use colon. So just be careful, okay? So just some very minor syntax difference. So anyway, in Python, when you want to loop for an iterable, so here in this case, it's a list, you can do something like this, okay? And then, hold on. Then you may say, okay, but I do want to get using index that of each element. So how do I do that? So Python also support a function called enumerate. And if you use this enumerate, it will give you the index kind of 0, 1, 2, 3, starting from 0. Okay, so then in this case, for each loop, and here you can see it also support these two kind of serves as like loop variable, but basically they take values. Is it from this is a iterable. And if you have enumerate, then enumerate will get the index from this iterable. Is it? So the animal, so this is sub 0, then sub 1, sub 2. Is it? So the IDX will get the 3 number 0, 1, 2, the index now. And then animal will get the specific item. Is it index item? Is it? And here is again, I remember we already discussed, is it the formatted? So you can do formatted output or you can format a string. So here basically it's a string format function, is it? And using curly brackets to match the variables. Okay, match variables. So just remember, okay, because some of you may be use other programming language a lot, is the curly brackets in Python is not for block. Okay, it's not for block. I don't know why it doesn't allow me to write. Okay, doesn't. It's not used for block. Block Block use what? Use indentation. And you will see when you type that when you write a statement, if it's not correct, will give you error. Okay, then next, this also very, very useful. Okay, I strongly recommend. Let's try to get used to this. You may see this weird because in other programming language, we never see something like this. This is called list comprehension. Very powerful, okay? So in Python, we use this a lot. And why we call it a list? And you will also see later on, you can also use it for dictionary comprehension, set comprehension. But anyway, generally speaking, it's some container comprehension. And here, because it's in a square bracket, so that's why we say it's a list comprehension. So let's read it, analyze it carefully, okay? So here we have this loop. The string is a list. And this is a for each loop. And this X will carry A as bet within the loop. So this is one part. And then, okay, after X get it, and here you apply some condition, is it? So that means it is the number of letters for X is more than 2. So you have 3 letters, 4 letters, 5 letters, etc., etc. What you are going to do? You are going to get that word converted to all upper. Okay, so the running result we can see. Is it? It's this. And in other programs, we never see this kind of statement. Is it? So this kind of statement is kind of, you see, you have for loop, and within the for regularly, then you need to do a for loop, and then you have if, so you use block. Is it? So here, no block, just a single statement. And that single statement is also within a list. So it's create a new list, form a new list. Is it? And this new list will filter out all of the items that you want and then do something. Is it? So generally speaking, for list comprehension, you have some for loop, is it? And then you can do, you can give some filtering condition and then let it do something. Okay. So this is an example of list comprehension. Very, very powerful, okay, very useful. And if you later on, if you use Python a lot, you will see this kind of statement a lot, okay. And here you can also do it as nested list comprehension. Okay, nested list comprehension. It's in the next example. But anyway, so here you can also see that in this one. So this is, if you have a blank square bracket, it's empty list. So you create an empty list. Is it correct? And then what's in this one? So anyway, so this is some loop, is it? And then you try to find the letter E within the word, is it? And if you have more than E, is it? And then you're going to filter out all of the names that meet this condition. Then you're going to assign it to this list, is it? And then for this list, and here once again we see, is it? So this name of list, so it's an empty list, is it? And here you want to add this enough is this list to another existing list. Then we can call this or extend method, is it? So you cannot use append. Not append is for single item. And the extend, what you plug in is another list. Okay, so another list, then you can call the extend. Okay, so then next, let's see. What we just mentioned is nested list comprehension. Okay, so we first, the all data is the names, we get the name. And then did you see, this is the second level, is it? So in the name, so here is, okay, so let's first take a look at this all data. So this maybe, and if we take a close look, you will find this all data. So, and there's some more, is it? Let's, if you take a look, is it? And all the end, okay. So anyway, so we have an outer square brackets, okay. Bracket, is it within it, did you see? You have another 2 square brackets, so inner bracket. And within the inner bracket, then you have the word. So basically, this kind of like the 2D array, but we can understand it as like a 2-dimensional list. So list within another list. So that's also fine, because list can take whatever is it in it. Okay. So anyway, so this is kind of a nested list. We can understand it something like the nested list. Because it's nested, so this is the outer loop, is it? And then this is kind of like an inner loop. Then you get to each name. And then for each of the name, you want to see, okay, so this is count is a string function. You want to see if it has more than 2 E's. That if you have, then you are going to get all of that name. Then we do find we only have a single one. And you can also see the output is a list, okay, even though it just has a single item. Okay, so this is regarding list, the first container we learned, list. So square brackets, remember, okay. The second one, second container, we are going to learn, it's called dictionary. Okay, in Python. Okay, dictionary also very, very useful, is it? Because it's still a key value pair, is it? So in other languages, maybe like a map or associated array, something like that, is it? And in Python, dictionary is identified by curly brackets. So that's why we don't use curly brackets for a block, is it? So because it's contradictory. So dictionary, then use curly bracket. So it's a key value pair. And the key value pair is identified with colon, okay, and separated by comma. For list, it's just some single item, is it? So item 1, then comma, item 2, that's for list. And for this case, this is a dictionary, is it? So for the item, then it's a key value pair, okay, and it's separated by the colon, and the left part is key, and the right part is value, okay, so key value pair, okay. And in Python, not everything can be key, okay. Key, generally speaking, it's immutable data type. Okay, like a string is immutable, the number is immutable. And later on, we will also learn some container, like a tuple is also immutable. Like a list, then you cannot use a list as a key, okay? But a value can be anything, okay, value can. So that's regarding dictionary. And from other program language, you also know dictionary is a nice thing for dictionary is a quick lookup, because it doesn't need to go through one by one comparison. Is it based on key, it can find the value because it's fast to look up. So that's the benefit part. And then So it's just like what we use the dictionary. Is it based on the name, you find the people's address, something like that. Okay, so how do we get the value? Is it? So here it shows. So if you know the key, then you do kind of like using key as index, then it will return you the value. Is it return value? And this kind of this is not a loop, okay? So this is just to check the relationship. So you can also using in to check if some item in a container. So for dictionary, you can do something like this, is it initialize, and you can also add more, is it? So you specify key and value, okay, using then the indexing kind of concept, and then you can use the key to retrieve the value. And like over here it shows, is it? And the monkey doesn't exist, is it? Then you will get error. Okay, you'll get error. But to avoid this, we can do something like this. Okay, so you can use the get method, call dictionaries get method, is it? So for monkey, because you don't just have a value for it, you can provide some default one. So default one. Okay, so here that means, okay, if it doesn't, then it will take this. If monkey does have a value, then it will, like for the fish, fish's value is wet, is it? Then it won't take the NA. If for monkey's case, because monkey doesn't have a value, so it will take NA. So you can, the idea is you can give key, give dictionary element with some default value, okay. And you can also do delete, okay. This is Python delete function. And you can delete a certain item for the dictionary, okay. After delete, if you want to get it, it's NA, is it? Okay, and then next is how do we iterate? Is it how do we loop for dictionary? So here it's same thing, you use for each loop, and then you call dictionary's item function. Okay, and then the item function will return you the key and the value. Okay, so animal and last kind of one take a key and the other takes the values. So okay, so that's regarding general idea about dictionary. And then next, let's take a look at dictionary comprehension. Okay, it's pretty similar, like the list comprehension. Okay, but here be careful. Okay, here we have a list. Then we have a list, and then if you take a close look at this variable, it will take what? A dictionary, is it? And for the dictionary over here, it has a colon, is it colon? And within this list comprehension here, we have the loop, is it? So the X will take, so the X loop variable will take the item from the list. And if it is an even number, that you are going to do quadratic of it. So X is what? X is an integer value, is it? So this will be used as key, is it? And this X quadratic, is it? So this is also an integer value. And this is going to be the key value, dictionary's value, is it? And if we take a look at the result, is it? So we do have this result. So this is to use a dictionary comprehension, is it? To form a new dictionary. So we can see it's quite helpful. Otherwise, you need to write multiple statements to achieve the goal. And what next one, again, is to check if a certain item is in a list or a dictionary or something. Oh, but here we have another new concept. If you take a look at this animals. So here we have curly brackets again, is it? And we have colon, but within the colon we don't have, not comma. Within the curly bracket we don't have colon, so no colon. So just a single item, is it? So what does this mean? So this is a third container. So it's set concept. So be careful, okay? So list allow duplicates items, but set doesn't allow duplicate item. Okay, so all of the item must be unique. So here we have 2 dots. So you can see when you want to output, it only give you 1 dot because the other one is duplicate. So it will be dropped even though you put it. Okay, so that's the concept of set. Okay, concept of set. So only allow unique item. It's a lot of times quite useful, this concept. Okay, and then later I said if you want to add a fish, then you can add. And if you want to check how many items, this length method is also quite useful. Okay, following some iterable, then it will return you the number of items in that iterable. Okay, and then later on, it also show you can also do add and remove for set. But anyway, so set also use curly brackets, but no duplicates, and it doesn't have key value pair. Okay, so we have already learned the 3 containers: list, dictionary, and the set, and make sure about the difference among them. And what is the next one? Try to show, oh yes, try to show, then how do we loop for set? Okay, and the difference here is set doesn't have an order. Set is unordered. So even though you have cat first, dog next, fish the third, when you do the iteration, when you do the loop, the output may not be. But in this case, for some reason, it follows the order. Okay, but it may be fish next, or it may be fish the first, the output. So set doesn't. So anyway, so the key point, also another difference for set and the list is not just duplicate. It's also set is not ordered. Okay, it doesn't keep the order as what you specify. Okay. And the next one is for set, you can also do comprehensions. Okay, comprehension. So, and a lot of time for some math operation, and we can also, this is math package, okay, for Python. And if you want to use some Python package, you can do like from math and import. Here it's that square root. We want to go ahead to use it, but make sure you need to import the package, okay? So we import the square root from math package, then we can go ahead to use this to call the square root, okay, function. And this is also, if you take a close look, you will find, so this is set comprehension, is it? Because you have this for loop, is it? And then do something. So A will take a number from 0, 1 all the way to 29, is it? And what? You do square root of A. Is it? Do square root of A. And then what? You convert it to integer. So here you cast to integer. Cast to integer. And here is the output. Is it? And it's a set. It's a set. Okay, so that's why some other duplicate value. Because suppose the value, we have 30 items. So output, suppose you should have 30, is it? But if you take, you only have 6. Why? Because some of them may be 29 and 30, the square root, it's pretty, after you do the integer, it's the same, is it? So that's why it's just to take unique ones. Okay. That's the set. And what's the next one? This is also quite useful in Python. It's called a tuple. Okay, and be careful, tuple is immutable. So not like list and set and dictionary. There's all those you can grow them, and you can also delete some items from them. But tuple, once you define, you cannot change it. Okay, it's immutable ordered list of values. Okay, so that's has some similarity with list, but the difference is because it's immutable. Because it's immutable, you can use it as dictionaries keys, okay, as dictionary key, and it's at list, then cannot. Okay, so let's take a look. So over here, basically, what we have over here is, let's see, we have this for loop, and then we have this for loop, okay, and then over here we have curly brackets, but we also have what? We also have colon. Is it? So that means this is a dictionary, create a dictionary. But this part is kind of new, that we have parentheses and separated with comma. Something like this. This is something like, so this is a Python tuple. Okay, Python tuple. So all of these are the items, individual items, but it uses what? Parentheses. Okay, use parentheses. So that's what D is. Is it? That's what D is. And then let's see here. So anyway, so this D is a dictionary. Okay, so D is a dictionary. And the dictionary, its key is a tuple. And this tuple only has 2 items. Two items, okay, like 0, 1, 2, 3, something like that. Is it? Okay, and here it shows how do you create a tuple. So here you use parentheses and some items separate. So this is a tuple, is it? And here you want to know the type it shows, is it? And if you want to get some item, okay, and here the D is a dictionary, and the DT is a D is a dictionary, and T is what? It's 5, 6. That's a tuple, is it? So this T is what? Is key, is it? And what the value is, it's based on this calculation. Okay, here it shows it's 5, is it? And if it's 1, 2, then it is 1, is it? So here 1, 2 again serves as key. So we can see you can also use tuple as key, okay, because it's immutable. But you cannot do this. That is wrong, okay? Because what? You cannot, tuple is immutable. So you cannot modify it. Modify it, okay? so just be careful about this. Okay, and how to flatten a list here. We also have a tuple within a list, is it? And if you want to flatten it, you can use list comprehension. So this is pretty straightforward. And what next one try to show, how do we design Python function? And if you want to define a Python function, you need to have this keyword def, and then the name of the function and the parameter list, and no data type, okay, for parameter. And then you also have colon. And also be careful, you need to have indentation. Indentation, is it? And for each of this condition, you have colon and then you have indentation. Okay, be very, very careful, okay, for Python. And the other structure is similar as other programming language. Okay, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but just be careful about functions definition. There is no curly brackets and for blocking, so you need to do indentation, okay, for block. And we can see here is multiple statement. It's the same thing here. Suppose you have print, then you need to do indentation. Okay, and if you have more, like if, then you need to do another level of indentation. Okay, so just be careful here. And then here we have a loop. Is it a loop? And then you can just call that function you define. So it's pretty straightforward as other language. So this is a function. And then what over here shows another function, is it? And here it's a similar concept as other programming languages. So this is default arguments. Is it? So if you don't plug in value, like for this bar, suppose you're supposed to plug in with 2 values, but second one you didn't provide, then it will use false, use the default one if you don't provide. But if you do provide, then it's going to override the false. So in this case, loud is true, is it? And if loud is true, then it's going to print out capitalized hello, is it? And here is the formatting. Okay, and the last part, just a quick, and I don't think we are going to use a lot, okay, but maybe somewhere. For a Python class definition and how to use it. So this is a very, very simple one, just a general structure. So same thing, you need to use a keyword class. And same, no curly bracket, you use colon and the name of the class. Okay, and be careful, okay, for Python class, the constructor, you do need to have this underscore init underscore, and also have this self. So self kind of like other programming language like this, okay? So this reference to the class itself, is it? And whatever here, the self dot, is it? So this self dot, following that, so suppose you also have self dot age, something like, then this name, age, they are all instance variables, so they belong to the class. And this init is constructor. Okay, it's different from other programming languages, so be careful. Okay, so underscore init underscore. So this is just Python's syntax for constructor definition. And then you can also define some other function, is it like an instance method here? And this is some, this is like a default argument, is it? So similar as what we saw before. And then similar, so this is the class definition. Within the class, you have method definition. You have the def, is it? And to create some object, then you can just use a class name, and here you call the constructor. So here's the same thing as other programming language, is it? So basically over here, you call the call this constructor, is it? And then this flag will go to the main, and this cell, because it's a reference to cell, is it? So it won't count it, okay. So anyway, so here you create a object of this class, and then you can call it method. They call it method. You don't. So the first is no parameter, so it will use the default one, false. And if you plug in the parameter, then it will go with the argument value. So it is true. Okay. Okay. So basically, we finish a quick Python review. Okay. And I think today probably just stop here.